Now, only Allah knows how long I'm really gonna live. I might die tomorrow. But on average, I am estimated to have 60 years to do this everything that I'm talking about. But the only question really is, where do I start? Okay, because I want to do everything, so like, where is even the beginning? A better question would be, what even are the smaller parts that make up this everything? I am now going to attempt to define the everything that I'm talking about. Is scrolling on TikTok mindlessly for hours on end a part of this everything? Not really. Is watching a bunch of movies and TV shows that are the hype, but I don't find that contribute much to my life a part of this everything? Also, not really. Is worrying about my future and if there is even a soulmate involved in the matter, which I really don't think there will be, looking at the current situation of today, a part of this everything? It's not. It's not. And I can't believe I have to verbally say that for it to be the case. Is being a doctor a part of this everything? Surprisingly, no. Surprisingly, no. But don't let my dad hear that. I'm not saying that these things are inherently bad, because sometimes you find interesting things on Instagram that actually help you out. You know, all I'm saying is these are the things I regularly catch myself falling into. And yet I say I want to do everything, but these things are not in the everything that I'm talking about. And these things are things I fall into regularly because, number one, I'm human, and these things kind of play on human emotion, and they have succeeded so well in doing so, which is why it's kind of, for most of our downfalls, it's the reason. And then two, it's because I'm not actively taking the time to redirect my energy and time towards something that I actually want to do, the everything that I actually want to do before I die. So we could technically agree on one thing now, and it's that I don't actually want to do everything. And I'm realizing that the title is a little bit clickbaity, because I just mentioned 3 things that I don't want to do. And everything, which is infinity minus 3, it's actually still infinity. I'm sorry for the math lesson, but I'm trying to get the point across that these are finite things that I want to do. Everything is making us fall into a trap. So it seems that the deductive approach to defining this everything is not very effective, and it's not going to work. Because I can't list everything that I don't want to do. I think it's much more effective to list everything that I want to do. And so I'm going to erase my whiteboard after having not done so for months, so we can try to list this everything that I'm talking about together. I'm going to be using a black marker to showcase this demonstration. Okay, so we've got you. Because we're not really talking about me, we're talking about you, okay? We've got you. I would give you a name, but I am not very creative. I would have called you Bethany. And I'm now realizing this is mirrored, so we're gonna... I don't like the sight of my face being mirrored, but whatever. Okay, so yeah. You're here, that's you. You've got like 60 years or so, okay? Let's connect the gym with you. Because maybe you want to get ripped or jacked, or lean, whatever it is. But I mean, it's good for you because it's activity, get your blood moving. And I'll say maybe you want to start cooking. Like that's something that you want to pick up and you want to start doing because you suck at it. I'm not pointing fingers. And obviously, like, let's put in there maybe like Islamic studies or something. And that's time in your day that you want to dedicate to learning the deen, learning something, doing something, getting something into your brain. I don't know. Maybe you want to start reading more. Okay, I don't know. I'm trying to guess what you want to do. Maybe you want to do something related to your career. Now, that has nothing to do with me. Maybe you want to start programming. Programming. I am not realizing I have the doctor's handwriting. which is not so good for me. But this is where we are right now, okay? I'm trying to make this generic so we'll cover a lot of people at the same time. We've got essentially 5 things right now. We have listed 5 things of the everything that we want to do. We have gym, like go to the gym, because you haven't gone in a while. We have cook, because we barely can cook egg without burning it. We have Islamic studies, because we actually need to know things before we die, and we need to like use them. And we have read, because the last time we read was a TikTok. And we have programming, because we want to take over the world. So like we have already listed things. So when you say, I want to do everything, that's not true. And when I thought I wanted to do everything, and I realized there were things that I didn't want to do, I was like, okay, but then I'm not getting everything out of life. It's like, but this is not the actual life. This is sort of life. But then the life after is life. This is like test life. But these are things that you want to do to make this life better. For you to achieve more in life, to cover more in life, to leave a footprint in life. Because these are not things that you're only doing for yourself. These are things that you're doing to also help society in the process. So what do we call these? The 5 things I have on this board that are constituent parts to what we think is everything, but it's actually just a finite number of things, and they're actually very specific. We call these goals because while you may already be doing them and progressing in them, you actually want to have something set in place that you can reach and then keep moving that forward and forward in each area because you want to progress in each area. You want to know where you're headed. Now, let me give you 2 people in this scenario. You have Sarah, who has these list of things that she wants to do before she dies. And you also have Bethany. Yes, Bethany wants to do Islamic studies, don't judge. And she wants to also do all of these things before she dies. They both have the same list. One of them succeeded and one of them failed. They have the same stuff written down. And let's say Bethany won and she managed to achieve so much in all of these areas. And Sarah is like kind of, she's struggling a little bit, okay? I picked Bethany to be the one succeeding, to defy the societal norms with the name Bethany. Anyway, they had the same goals. They had the same list. They had the same everything. What set them apart? We can certainly say that it's not the list that set them apart. So what does that tell us? Writing down the list does not guarantee that you're going to succeed. You can write down the list however many times you want. It's not going to be the thing that's going to help you succeed. And I mean, there are smarter ways to write down your goals. In middle school, when they tell you how to write SMART goals, I'll be honest, I forgot what SMART goals stood for. Specific, measurable, relative, and time-based. I forgot what the A stood for. Articulate? I forgot. But anyway, they tell you to write SMART goals. And yes, while that may help you in articulating your goal and knowing what it is exactly you want to achieve, it helps to know where you want to be headed exactly. When you have a compass and you want to go to a place, you don't want it to be off by a bit. You want it to be exactly right, because if you're off by a bit and you keep going, you're not going to be in the place that you want it to be in all along. I know that's crazy, but yeah, I think we all know that. So then we can sort of kind of conclude after saying that Sarah and Bethany both set the same goals, but only one succeeded, that it's largely dependent on the person themselves and not just the goals. That is fundamental to actually achieving your goals. And now, first of all, I hate the word goals. Let's just get that out of the way. I hate the word resolution also. I hate a lot of things. But it's only because I think they're used so mindlessly that they lost their meaning with time. So it's just like, when I say goals, please don't have the alpha male in your head talking about his morning routine and his goals. I want you to strip all of that imagery that you have in your head about it and put it back to its essential meaning. What does goal even mean? God, this is not shaping out to be well if I can't define goal. But I'll tell you the Google definition. The Google definition is the object of a person's ambition or effort, an aim or desired result. That's actually a really nice definition. I didn't think it'd be that good. Now, in order to achieve your goals, you need to have what is called self-efficacy, or rather a high sense of self-efficacy, which is defined as, and this is totally in my words, an individual's belief in his or her capacity to execute behaviors necessary to produce specific performance attainments. And that was totally from my own tongue, and I just came up with that on the spot, which is crazy. But it's basically the belief in oneself to do something, to accomplish a thing. And that was actually totally my own words. So now this was something that was heavily studied by a guy named Alber Bandora. This guy dominated psychology. He came in and he was like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, blah, 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 blah. And then everyone was amazed. He wanted to study cognitive processes that went on in the brain amidst a situation where there is kind of like an action and a reaction, which is something that most psychologists at his time didn't even study. It's called the mediative, something. Hold on. It's called the mediational process. And I was like literally so close. And basically, it studies the mental processes, the mental event that takes place between an input in the environment and an output in the person's behavior. So he was like digging into brains, seeing what was going on. So he knows a thing or two, sort of. And he wrote this paper that was very influential in his time, and it's called Self-Efficacy Toward a Unifying Theory of Behavioral Change, because he was obsessed with behavior. He was like, he had a behavior fetish or something. Now, mind you, I'm only talking about psychology because I'm gonna tie it to Islam later, but like I have a connection that I'm gonna tell you about later. But right now, you have to focus with me, okay? I'm gonna read you the abstract of the paper because the paper itself is like so many big words, which I can understand. It's hard to break down, you know? It's always easier to go into the abstract. So his hypothesis was that expectations of personal efficacy, which is how you expect to do at a certain thing, will determine whether coping behavior will be initiated. So maybe you have a coping mechanism in place, like procrastination. How much effort will be expended if you're gonna even try in the first place, and how long it will be sustained in the face of obstacles and aversive experiences. Kind of similar to how hard you're gonna try, but how long you're gonna do this for. And Bandora says that the 4 factors that contribute to the expectations of personal efficacy is performance accomplishments, vicarious experience, verbal persuasion, and physiological states. Now you might be like, what are those words and why did you say them together so fast? Because that's what I was thinking. But if you break them down one by one, they actually start to make sense. And you'll see this having happened at some point in your life as well. The first factor I mentioned was performance accomplishments. This basically dumbs down to experience. How much experience do you have at a given thing? Let's use an activity to demonstrate these 4 factors into play. Let's talk about something that you want to do, like a task that you want to accomplish. Let's say you want to write a book, okay? So performance accomplishments, experience. Do you have any experience in writing at all? You know, if your experience is high, you sort of have a start to start with, if that makes, that was so eloquent. But if you don't have experience, it's like, where do I even start? You know what I mean? So experience has to be high in order for self-efficacy to be high as well. Now, the second factor is vicarious experience. Now, vicarious just means through a different person, living through the other person's feelings or thoughts or accomplishments, whatever it may be. But vicarious experience is like if you're writing a book and you have seen your friend who is an author who has written a book, you can vicariously live through that and you can see that, okay, they accomplished it. I think I can accomplish it as well. You have seen someone else who has done it. You're almost experiencing what they experienced secondhand. You haven't done anything, but it just helps you to show you that it's not impossible, that it's actually doable. The third factor is verbal persuasion, which is also written as social persuasion. And they're basically just words of encouragement. Now, I have a separate theory that does not need to be said to the world, but it will still be said. And it's that, you know how there are some people who use daily affirmations to get their day started, like I am this and I am that, I think this is a way for them to train their brain to verbally persuade themselves, in accomplishing something, in achieving something. Of course, that does not stop me from judging it. I will still judge it hardcore, even though there is like some psychology sort of to back it up. But it's just fun to judge. Yeah, anyway, the fourth factor. Now, the fourth thing is physiological states or physiological feedback. And this is how your body reacts to the thing that you want to do, like writing a book. Like, can you feel it literally closing up? Or do you feel a sense of calm? The calmer that you feel, the higher that your self-efficacy would be, and how you interpret these feelings that you have, like butterflies in your stomach. Because it might mean that you're anxious, but it also might mean that you're excited. So it's dependent on your interpretation of the feelings that you have, as well as the environment that you're in, because your body is both internal and external, and it can respond to both of these things. Now, why am I saying all of this? Why am I dumping so much information on you at the rate that I am, that even probably the mind can't parse it at the rate that I'm saying it? Is because in Islam, in order to be a good Muslim, in order to be a good believer, you have to have high self-efficacy. You have to have high and strong belief in the fact that you can do what you set yourself out to do. Obviously, we are talking by the will of Allah, but you actually have to have that drive and that ambition to say that if I am saying that I'm gonna do this, then I am gonna do this. And Bandora did a really good job at explaining the factors that contribute to our self-efficacy and our expectation of our self-efficacy. But there's this other research paper that was looking into the Quran and its relation to self-efficacy. And it made the observation that when Allah says, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, it's never mentioned in isolation from وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا means those who believed. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ means those who have done righteous deeds. So a habit that is often done by a believer is doing righteous deeds. And in order to do righteous deeds, an individual or a Muslim or even a believer has to have the belief in themselves in order to be able to do it. Now, in the beginning of this video, I mentioned the everything that we all collectively want to do. And we came upon the realization that it's not everything, and it's a finite number of things that we actually want to do. For some people, they don't know what those things are. They think they do. Sometimes it's like forced onto you by society. Like, let's say the gym. Maybe you don't want a gym. Maybe you want to like walk or bike or whatever. Maybe it's just not for you, but it was forced upon you by society. And so in Islam, we have this thing called taqwa. And taqwa is like God consciousness, And usually a person of taqwa, a person that has this sense of God consciousness and has a strong iman or faith that is being strengthened, iman that is on its way to being strengthened. These people feel that Allah resides in them so long as they breathe, so long as they take their next breath, so long as their heart pumps, so long as their brain works. These are the same people that feel that they actually get signs from Allah in what to do, in what to do next, in what the next step may be, what it may entail, what your life might be about, and what to deem important, what to deem not important, what to let go of, what to keep working on. There are signs, and they can feel that. So for them, it's not so much an issue coming up with this list of things that they want to do before they die, because they almost feel like it's an obligation. Like they are responsible for doing these things before they die. It's like a task assigned to them. Like they didn't even pick it, it picked them, it chose them. And sometimes these come through ideas. Now, sometimes ideas come from shaitan, they come from the devil. Sometimes they come from yourself, but sometimes they come from Allah. Ideas that are from Allah start as an idea in your head, but they are also a sign for you to build something that was not there before, whatever it may be. And usually these signs come with a sense of urgency. It's not like other ideas. these signs come with a sense of urgency, and you can even feel it driving your ambition more than anything else, because it's almost physically pushing you. It's like you actually have to do this thing before you die. Like this is a task assigned to you specifically. You have got to do this thing. One of my favorite stories in the Quran is Dhul Qarnayn in Surah Al-Kahf. And Surah Al-Kahf is a chapter that we read every Friday that consists of stories that teach us about life. This is one of my favorite stories because it talks about a man who's a king on earth, a vicegerent that Allah placed, and he rules like this vast land, and Allah has given him everything. Allah has given him military, He's given him knowledge and wisdom and power and strength and a rule over the greatest kingdom. He's given this man everything. And his purpose was to travel from land to land across this vast earth that he was just given in order to establish justice and alleviate suffering, alleviate any injustices that may take place. And the ayah that talks about this says, إِنَّا مَكَّنَّا لَهُ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. We established him on this earth and we gave him the means to all things. So he followed a way. I'm not comparing us to Dhul Qarnayn, but Allah has given us pretty much everything. Allah has given us our 5 senses. Allah has given us a home to sleep in. Allah has given us work, school. Allah has given us so much, We need to follow a way, just like Dhul Qarnayn, atba'a sababa. He followed a way. Many stories actually comprise the Quran because Allah knows that we learn best through stories. Actually, Bandora has this theory called the social learning theory that I wanted to get into, but it was going to be so long and a little bit boring. But you learn through the actions of others. You learn through observing. You learn through seeing what happens to other people. You don't just learn by being said things, by being told things. And so by seeing all of these stories in the Quran, it almost enforces the idea that we can do the same thing and we have been given the same thing. And in the Quran, Allah says, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not burden a soul more than it can bear. I don't like the word burden in here, but Allah doesn't give a soul more than it can bear. But in this ayah, it's talking about 2 things at the same time, actually. It's talking about the external circumstances, the best example being the Palestinians right now in Gaza, and it's that Allah has given them just what their soul can bear, not more, not less. It's just the right amount for them, and it's what they and their soul can bear. Maybe our souls can't bear it. But there's also an internal perspective, and it's that, remember when I talked about Allah placing ideas in your head and giving you an idea as to what your next task may be? It's almost as though Allah is insinuating that you are capable of that. When Allah puts these ideas in your head, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. He does not burden a soul more than it can bear. He's saying that you can do this. I'm placing this idea in your head for you to struggle in my way. And though it may seem like a grand task, though it may seem like a scary task, like you're not even capable of doing it, you are. You are, because I haven't given this idea to another person. I've given this idea to you. Talking about wanting to do all of these things, it takes us to the inevitable conversation that is the conversation of procrastination. Oh my God, that rhymed. But procrastination is an inevitable thing that you will face when wanting to do something great. And the greater it is, maybe the greater procrastination that comes along with it, But procrastination is not really a sign to stop. It's not like, oh, okay, this is a sign that I need to stop doing. No, it's just an obstacle that you have to endure and you have to pass in order to achieve what you want to achieve. Procrastination is actually defined as this threat that your system encounters, that let's say you have a deadline coming up and you have to write a report, your body perceives it as a threat. Your perfectionism kicks into play, your brain is just bombarded with all of these things that it has to do and has to do well, and so your body feels threatened and it closes up and you feel tense and you feel anxious, and that's why you feel like your gut is a little bit not okay. It's obviously an inevitable thing and we all face it, but if it's inevitable, then we need to know how to face it when it comes. And honestly, I don't have a bulletproof plan for you, but I do have this ayah from the Quran that my mom told me about a couple days ago, and I can't get it out of my head, and I'll tell you about it. So we all know Maryam alayhi salam. We all know Miriam, or the Virgin Mary. Catholics right now, they're gonna chase me down. But I hope we all know. Now, we also know, as per the Quran and the Bible, that she gave birth as a virgin. Yeah, atheists laugh at us. It doesn't even matter, because you're gonna see on the Day of Judgment. In Surah Maryam, when Allah is describing the conditions in which she gave birth, the conditions in which Jesus came to be, he described her as being both so ashamed. How could she go back to show these people that she has just had a baby? What are they gonna say of her? And she was weak, and she wanted to die. She wanted to die. First, I'm gonna say the verses regarding the context, and that is, Allah says, then the pains of labor drove her to the trunk of a palm tree, and she cried, alas, I wish I had died before this, and was a thing long forgotten. So a voice reassured her from below her, do not grieve, your Lord has provided a stream at your feet. We can imagine Maryam alayhi salam in this scenario being so weak. You know, she's under a palm tree and she can barely move. And then Allah says, وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ بِجَذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ تُسَاقِطْ عَلَيْكِ رُطَبًا جَنِيًّا. Allah says, and shake the trunk of this palm tree towards you. It will drop fresh, ripe dates upon you. Now this woman literally just gave birth. She's like, you want me to shake a palm tree? And I'm like about to die. You know, not like that. I'm putting it in Gen Z context so it's easier for people to understand. But like, you can imagine, she's like, you want me to shake a palm tree? A palm tree. And I am like weak as frick. You know, it's worse than a period. It's like really bad. It's not good. But then she shook it. And you know, it's the slightest shake that she did to the palm tree that brought down an abundance of ripe dates. Allah told her to shake the palm tree, not for her to get the dates herself. It's to show her that it's by the will of Allah that these things happen. She just has to make a tiny move. She can't shake it. She had to just try. It was the essence of trying that brought down the ripe dates, not the shaking that she did herself, because she was in so much pain and she was so weak. She can barely stand up. How was she gonna shake a palm tree? So this is Allah's way of teaching us that we have to just try. Yes, okay, we're gonna procrastinate, and that's our way of avoiding the tough work, and it's because we don't think maybe that we're good enough and that we're not able to do it as well as our expectations that we have placed in our heads. But it's to just try. It's to shake the palm tree even when you're weak and you're tired and you want to give up. And that was my motivational speech for today. Thank you guys. No, I'm joking. No, it's actually the end of the episode. But that was like, it's not supposed to be motivation. It's supposed to be this ayah from the Quran that inspires you to keep going. Because motivation dies, but this ayah never dies. So it's like, it's not motivation, okay? Don't be cringy. Anyway, that was my episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more content. I'm taking you guys back to 2015. What more? What else do you want? What else more do you want? Yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this episode. Have a lovely day, guys. And have an amazing one. And I will see you in the next episode, inshallah. Bye-bye.